Welcome to the Career Happiness Podcast. My name is Soma Ghosh. I am a careers advisor and a career happiness mentor. This is the second season of the podcast. So if you haven't already listened to all 26 episodes from season 1, please go back and check out the list of episodes that are relevant to you. In this season, we'll be talking to more exciting and interesting guests. I will be talking about job hunting and how you can get noticed more on LinkedIn and be more visible so that you can get a promotion and pay rise. We will also be looking at confidence, self-worth, and also how you can be career happy in relation to your health and overall well-being. So, if you are looking for some inspiration in your career and you want to move forward into the next phase for 2020, please stay tuned and listen to the podcast. Hi everyone, welcome to episode 37 of the podcast. So in today's episode, oh my god, I do not know how to describe Joy. Mainly because I had so much fun doing this interview, but also because the way that I met Joy is I actually just took my initiative to contact her. And I speak about this a little bit with her in the podcast episode, but I just thought I would bring it up in the intro as well. I'd been following Joy for a while. She has an amazing YouTube channel where she kind of gives advice to graduates about employment, and also she gives health and fitness tips as well. But I don't know, she just had this really amazing energy about her, and I just thought, why don't I just email her? And that's exactly what I did. I just emailed her and she got back to me and she wanted to be interviewed. But before we kind of got to that stage, we had a little bit of a chat and we got to know each other a bit, and we got on really well. But she just gives so much valuable advice in this episode. Advice around what to do if you want to get a promotion or pay rise. Advice around what to do if you're a mum, if you're a woman, if you're struggling, if you feel as though, you need to rehash your skills. There is so much amazing golden wisdom in this episode. And I feel really kind of lucky to have had Joy on the podcast. And I just feel quite excited about this episode, because there are sometimes, when you're a podcaster, you do interviews with people, and all of the interviews, because I hand select the guests, are always really good. But I don't know why, when I was interviewing this, I had so much fun, and it was just a really juicy episode in terms of kind of the content and the value that Joy gives you. So I know you're going to enjoy this one, but I just hope that you really listen to a lot of the kind of words of wisdom that Joy shares. But she does also share a lot about herself and her own journey, and that's important for you to take on board, because the people that listen to this podcast, I know a lot of you feel deflated. A lot of you feel like, oh, that person's doing this, how did they get there? It's never easy for everyone, and I think her transparency with her ups and downs is really valuable here. So I know that you're going to enjoy this one, and I'd love to know what you all think about this episode, so please do get in touch. Lastly, I just want to say, if you've been listening to this podcast for a while but you haven't left me a review, please go and leave a review and let me know what you think. Hi everybody, so I'm really excited to have a wonderful guest with us today. Hi Joy, how are you doing?
Hi, I am great, thank you. I'm so excited to have this conversation with you today.
So obviously I have been kind of following you for a while, and I absolutely love what you do. I love your YouTube channel, I love your branding, everything that you do. And I got in touch with you, didn't I?
You did.
At the beginning of this year, just to kind of find out more about you. But for people who perhaps don't know what you do,
Yeah.
can you just kind of tell us a little bit about yourself and what you currently do?
Yeah, so I'm Joy, and I'm a high performance executive coach that works with women who want to join the top 1% of their field. I typically work with women who are professionals, executives, and entrepreneurs, and I help them clarify their career goals and do what they really want to do in this world, and also outperform expectations and develop the most effective habits for reaching and sustaining success. So, think of me as the girl that you go to if you don't know what you want to do with your career and you have big dreams for yourself. And I help you figure that out, but I also help you get your dream job. And I also help you become brilliant at what you do so that you get to that executive or leadership position, or even just be influential in your field. So that's kind of in a nutshell, in a short summary, what I do.
Okay, cool. And can I just ask, do you like just specialize in working with women who kind of are potentially wanting to go into leadership, or has that kind of just happened by accident, Joy?
It's quite interesting because I've realized one of the things that if anyone ever goes into business or if anyone really in any profession, you realize what types of things you're really good at and what
Mhm.
types of things you're not so good at. And at first, I was kind of working with anyone who wanted a job. So, do you want a job? Yes, I want a job. And I'll be like, hey, I can help you get that job, in 30 days or as fast as possible. But I realized the people that I get the most results from, like the people that actually get the most impact from my work, are women that are ambitious, and they are women with dreams, and they want to do something meaningful with
Yeah.
their life, and they also want to push themselves, and they don't want to stay stuck at a certain level. So even if they have a good job as a junior person, they eventually might want to get to a middle level. And then once at the middle level for the next few years, maybe they want to get to a senior position, and then
Yeah.
maybe they want to get to an executive position. So, or maybe they want to start their own business. But the point is that they're growing. So I really work with women who have dreams, they want to grow, and they really want to reach their full potential.
Wow, I absolutely love that, Joy, seriously. And I think maybe that's one of the reasons why I liked your YouTube channel and what you do so much. Because with the women that I work with, they are secretly quite ambitious, what you just said. They
Yeah,
want more, they want to have more of something, but perhaps their potential is not being tapped at work. So they kind of need
exactly.
someone like us to help them really believe in themselves, right?
Exactly. And it's one of those things that as a woman, but also I think men experience this too, but
Mhm.
I really work with women. You have that feeling in your gut
Yeah.
that I'm just not reaching my full potential here. And even though I don't really like the phrase full potential, because what does that really
Yeah.
mean when you think about it? What I do know is that when you have so much more to offer.
Yeah.
And when you can make a bigger impact with your skills, your ideas, your brilliance. And sometimes you don't get the opportunities that that you need and you can thrive in.
Yeah.
So I really enjoy helping women dream big, but also turn these dreams into their reality. When that happens, like every time I get a message from someone who gets their dream job, it just like I literally do a happy dance, and
Oh,
and my daughter, because I've got a 1-year-old, she looks at me like, "Mom, why are you dancing randomly with no music?" And I'm like, "I
you
don't
don't need
need
music to
music."
dance all the
Exactly.
time, do you? You don't.
Exactly.
And I think it epitomizes your name a little bit, to
Yes,
be honest.
yes, Joy, yes. No, what I remember one stranger told me when I was very young, she said, with your name, you have no right to be grumpy.
Oh no, I can see that, and you do epitomize it, definitely,
Yeah,
definitely. And I think it's really interesting what you were saying about, all of us kind of have this feeling in our gut. I think I was like that before I even started my business, and I know when we spoke, you spoke a little bit about that as well. And I think everybody kind of maybe feel it a little bit in their belly, in their stomach, wherever it is. But
exactly.
there's fear, there's a lot of things around that. But
Yeah,
it's really, really interesting hearing that. Thank you so much for sharing what you do and how you help the women that you do, because it's so important. So, I have obviously been following you for a while. I think like
yeah.
over a year. I kind of accidentally discovered your YouTube channel, and I was like, wow. who is this girl? She's a
I
breath of
think
fresh air.
I think most people find it
Yeah,
accidentally because that's the most feedback I've received. Like you somehow popped up.
yeah. I don't know why. I think it was maybe I was watching something about CVs, some dry video, and then you popped up and you were like really like breath of fresh air, and I was like, wow. So I subscribed to your channel, I remember, and I was like watching some of your videos and feeling like, wow, this is somebody that perhaps, you know, I should speak to or contact. But at the time I was like, perhaps later, because I
Yeah.
think I wasn't ready. But I'm so glad I did contact you. But kind of just to tell basically the audience, people who are listening. So
Yeah.
you've got this wonderful YouTube channel,
Yeah.
and what kind of led you to kind of like starting this? And what advice would you give to anyone who wants to start a YouTube channel? Because I think a lot of people have misconceptions about how easy or hard it is, right?
Yeah, yeah. So you've asked a very good question, and I think I might just like break it up into like
Yeah,
two
of
separate
course.
questions because in terms of how I started the YouTube channel, so I always find it fascinating to learn how some people started a YouTube channel because with my journey, it was kind of more like I fell into it almost. So, just for a bit of context, so I was born in Lesotho, which is a tiny country in South Africa,
Wow.
and it's almost in the middle of nowhere if you were to travel there. And since I was a very, very small girl, I always had dreams. And I would play, like, I would watch football at my grandparents' house because I lived with my grandparents. And I would sit there as a 3-year-old looking at the screen and I would learn all about England through football. And I
Wow.
remember saying to my grandpa, saying, one day I'm going to live in England and I'm going to play for a football team. And he just thought I was bananas because at the time there was no remote possibility that a little
Yeah.
girl in the middle of nowhere in Africa would end up living in England. Now, fast forward a few years, my mum remarried. She married a British man and we ended up moving to England. And I was still obsessed with football. But at the time, there was the saying that girls don't play football.
Oh.
And it was very much a male dominated industry.
Hmm.
And needless to say, it didn't change the fact that I loved it and I was obsessed. And you might be wondering, how is this related? But I'm
Hmm.
going to get there.
Yeah,
So
no. It's really
yeah.
interesting.
So I was so obsessed with football that I would still learn about as much as I could about David Beckham, Pele, Zidane, like all the greatest
Wow.
footballers. And I'd wonder, how did they get so good at football? What were they doing? How were they training? And even though I wasn't playing for a team and I wasn't doing anything,
Hmm.
I would read all these magazines and books to learn their techniques and practices and training so that I could train myself. When I turned 10, I ended up getting scouted
Hmm.
by Manchester United Football Club.
Yeah.
And my mom was like, no, girls don't play football. You're not going to play. I was like, oh. I then got scouted again for Southampton Football Club. And by that point, the scouts were saying to my mom, I don't know why you're not letting her play. She's good at what she does. So my mom was like, oh, okay. So I ended up trialing for Southampton. I ended up getting picked for the team. And that's when my whole worldview changed because I went from kind of experiencing a world where people say girls don't play football to all of a sudden being in a world where there are girls that play. And
Hmm.
not only girls that play, there are girls that are amazing. And if you
Wow.
want to play at this league, you have to step it up.
Hmm.
So that was really the beginning of learning about how women can have dreams for themselves
Yeah.
and how society can tell you that it's just not going to happen for you, either because you're a woman or because you're a person of color or because you're an immigrant or for some other reason.
Hmm.
So I ended up playing football for Chelsea and I had a really fun, just amazing time playing sport, but I got injured. And I thought, well, what am I going to do? So I decided to go into business. I went to business school, worked as a marketing consultant for brands like L'Oreal, Unilever, and Nike. And even though I was good at what I did, and even though I worked on some really fun projects, I had this feeling in my gut that this wasn't my dream, that I had given up my childhood dream of being a footballer, but
Hmm.
working as a marketing consultant from brands wasn't my next dream.
Mm.
I had skills, I had interests, I had passions that my job just wasn't going to utilize. So I decided, why don't I try health coaching? Because I was passionate about health and wellness. So I did this program. I graduated. I thought, I've got this. I know how to do business. I've worked with brands. I know business. I know health coaching. I've got this. But then literally within a couple of months of quitting my full-time job and living on my savings to kind of fund this dream, I got diagnosed with a rare tumor. So when I got diagnosed with this tumor, I ended up having to get multiple organs removed. It was a very complex 8-hour surgery because it could turn into cancer, and it was very serious. And I was basically out for 6
Wow.
months where I couldn't really work. And so I burnt through pretty much all my savings just by simply recovering from the surgery. And I just had this huge imposter syndrome thinking, I can't coach people on their health. I can't. I've just given up. I've just had to deal with this massive tumor. And how can I coach people on their health if I'm struggling with my health right now? So I ended up feeling this life crisis, and I didn't know what I was going to do because I couldn't go back to being a branding consultant because I'd realized that there was something greater out there for me.
Yeah.
But I couldn't go forward because I didn't know what I was going to move forward to. So at the time, I had been a guest lecturer at universities such as the London School of Economics and also City University for their Cass Business School business program. And I'd been a guest lecturer and I'd speak every year. So it happened to be around the time that I was supposed to speak. So I ended up speaking, and a student came up to me and said, "Your career advice is really great. You should start a YouTube channel." So I was like, really? I don't know. She's like, "Yeah, you should start a YouTube channel." And then another student came up to me and said, "Can you show me how to get a job?" And I said, "Oh, I don't know. Like, I'm a branding person. I know how to brand companies." "Yeah, but you can help me brand myself." I was like, okay. So I reluctantly helped her. She ended up getting the job within 30 days. I thought, oh, okay, maybe that's a one-off. And then another student asked for my help, and she ended up getting a job within 30 days. So I thought, maybe I'm onto something. So I kept on getting feedback that I should start this YouTube channel. So I created these videos, and I think at the time I had something like 100 subscribers or something. It was really small. And then I remember posting one video on how to get a job without experience. And that video changed, like, I wouldn't say changed my career, but it definitely changed my life because it ended up getting over 100,000 views. And the views aren't what matter, but what matters is kind of the realization that, oh, there are actually people who care about this. No, it's not just me and my computer, me writing or blogging. Like, there are actually women who have dreams for their careers too. And they don't just want to work. They want to do their dream job. They want to be fulfilled. They want to make money. They want to be paid. They want to have fun. And that's when I realized maybe I should just keep on doing this channel. And that's ended up being my channel, which is kind of all about following your dreams and also the branding aspects in terms of marketing yourself and positioning yourself as an amazing person at whatever you do. And now more recently, helping women develop into just excellent professionals at whatever they do.
It was a really, really fascinating story, Joy. Wow.
Yeah, it's like so complex. Like, I feel like, when I'm not sure if you ever saw the speech that Steve Jobs gave years ago, where he talks about how things are connected. I'll tell you, for the majority of my 20s, I thought, what am I doing with my life? And it was only until just recently that I realized, oh, everything is connected. That's why I did football. That's why I did health coaching. That's why I did the branding. Because if I hadn't done any of those things, there is no way that I would have been able to do the job that I'm doing now.
Definitely. And I'm a firm believer in that as well. I think everything happens for a reason, and connecting the dots, like Steve Jobs says.
Yeah. It happens after the fact, not during.
It's totally after. It's totally true.
Yeah.
So, one of the things that I'm really, really keen to find out, because obviously you've got this amazing YouTube channel, you've been self-employed for a while. How do you feel that you have changed since you've been in self-employment, from, you know, when you were working in your corporate job?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is my mindset. And
Mm.
it might sound obvious, like, oh, so you went from being an employee to being an entrepreneur. Like,
Mm.
obviously, those are two different things, but it's the actual mindset shift
Yeah.
that you make from being an employee to an entrepreneur. That was just huge because, for example, when I was an employee, I really, really cared about my manager, my team, my colleagues. And as a consultant, I cared about my clients. And I was the yes girl. Anything anyone wanted from me, I would say yes. Want coffee? Yes. You want me to deliver this by this deadline? Yes. You want anything? Yes. You want me to even pick up your groceries? Yes. I would say yes to anything and everything, and it actually didn't matter.
Mm.
But I didn't actually learn about the importance of boundaries. And
Mm.
I didn't learn how important it is and actually how you can actually perform better at your job if you take care of yourself, if you do something that is meaningful with your life,
Yeah.
as opposed to just serving other people and having your diary dictated by other people.
Mm.
But when you're an entrepreneur, you can't say yes to everything. When
Definitely.
you're an entrepreneur, you have to think about the only way that your business can be successful is if you're doing something that you feel so called to do that despite all the challenges that you experience in business, you have to do it anyway. And that you have this kind of clear idea of what your priorities are and what your priorities aren't. So I've become so much more confident in saying no.
Mm.
And it's fascinating, actually. So I'll just give you an example. So
Oh yeah, please do.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I won't mention in the company, but there was one client, well, prospective client. So I work with people like women
Mm-hmm.
directly, one-on-one, and also in group form. But I also got contacted by a company who wanted me to coach the women that work in an organization. And this organization is national, so it's a big company. So they were like, we want you to create this mentoring program to coach the mentors and also to coach the mentees. And I said, okay, great. And then they said, we need you to travel to this place and that place. And I realized, because I'm still breastfeeding and my daughter's about 14 months. So I said to them, look, I'm not going to go to those locations. It's far too far for me. And you know what? It's perfectly fine. I don't need this project. I really hope you find someone who is a good fit for you. I hope you find someone up north. You know, good luck with that. And I was saying, peace out, see you later. And they got back to me saying, no, we actually really want you. And I was
Oh.
like, no, but I'm not applying for this job. I don't
Yeah.
need this job.
Mm.
He said, no. We told the client that we're going to work with you. We only want you.
Ooh.
And I said to my husband, I said, it's so fascinating because once you
Mm.
realize what your boundaries are,
Yep.
you realize that there's so many things you can say no to and people will still accept you anyway.
Oh yeah.
And that's when I realized, oh, this is quite nice. I don't actually have to overwhelm myself with unnecessary things. I can still make my clients happy while
Mm-hmm.
still having boundaries. So I ended up working with this client and everything ended up working out great, but I didn't have to make the sacrifices that
Mm.
the employee version of myself
Yeah.
would have made.
Yeah.
So I'd probably say that's probably the biggest change that
Mm.
I've seen. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I was nodding along to like pretty much 90% of what you
Yeah.
were saying. I was nodding my head. Make sure
Yeah.
I don't have any neck ache, because I could just really kind of resonate with everything you were saying. And I think it ties into, if you do outside projects, you can say no to some opportunities, because if it's not tying in with your values, or you know, the fact that you're a mum or the fact that you have other commitments, that's okay. But I'm glad it worked out. That's really, really good.
Yeah, and I was saying to Ian, and the thing that helped, I think, I think there's certain people who can get away with things more than others.
Yeah.
And it's not so much about me as such, but what I would say for any woman really is that if you focus on being really good at whatever it is that you do,
Mm-hmm.
you end up having the right to kind of just say, actually, can we just modify what you're suggesting, and can we do it this way? So for me, the YouTube channel was what gave me the right in this instance, because they watched my YouTube videos, they found me, I didn't pitch myself to them, so they were the ones coming for me. So it gave me that flexibility. So I think one thing that I've learned is that it's not so much about being a diva and being like, I deserve this because I'm amazing. Not about that at all. But it's to say something like, know what your boundaries are, and make sure that when you're working within those boundaries, you're still making your clients very happy and they're still getting the results. Because if they're getting the results, then what's there to like, they have nothing to complain about. They'll just work with whatever you're doing.
Of course. And I think it's really interesting what you said, because it was making me think of some of the women I've worked with who, you know, when they're negotiating their contract, they're sometimes too scared, Joy, to say...
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. They're actually too scared to say, actually, well, I've got to pick my child up from nursery, or I have an elderly relative that I've got to care for. So, you know, on these days, can I work from home? And sometimes if they really, really want you, because it's happened to me in previous jobs where they've really been flexible about certain things, they'll be like, oh, that's fine. Yeah, we'll be on board with that.
Yeah.
You know?
And you know what? And I've actually got another story for you on this, because I'll give you another example. So years ago when I was employed, I ended up getting hired by a tech company that was based in Germany.
Yeah.
And they gave me an offer that matched my current salary. And this job, it was without a doubt my dream job. I wanted this job so badly. I was like, I need this. And I was almost crying to my husband saying, I need this job, but I don't want the salary. I don't know why they're paying, because they had initially asked me, what are you currently on? And I naively told them what I was on, because I hadn't done any negotiation training. So I didn't know how to negotiate. So my husband said, and my husband's amazing because he gives me so much confidence. He always says, you're worth more than what you say you are. So I took his advice. I ended up writing an email. They ended up coming back to me the next day with a 40% pay increase.
Wow.
And I was just like, wow. And not only that, they also paid for me to relocate to Germany. They paid for everything. Now, when I ended up moving to Germany, because I was meant to be there for a couple of months, I ended up meeting other people who they hired for the exact same job, exact same position. They just hired multiple people. And we ended up having a conversation, and I was talking to men. And this is when it gets really interesting when you think about the gender pay gap. So I was talking to the guys, and it turned out that they were earning less than me. And they also weren't, they didn't have their expenses and relocation costs covered. So the company wasn't paying for them to live in Germany for 2 months, as opposed to the company was paying my rent. They were paying for everything. And it really got me thinking about how once you learn how to negotiate, it can totally transform the quality of life you have, as opposed to when you don't negotiate and then you miss out. You miss out on those things. So the guys were like, how did you get paid more? How did you get all these benefits? Your rent is paid, your travel is paid, you're earning more. Like, how did that happen? I was like,
because you asked for it.
Exactly. And I said, didn't you ask for it? And they said, no, I didn't think to.
See, that's the key lesson, I think, for anyone listening to this who is kind of trying to negotiate something, I think.
Exactly. And I think kind of shedding that perspective that men always earn more, or men can negotiate and women can't. It's actually, there are cases where women have out-earned men simply because the men haven't asked and the women have. Exactly. So it's all about asking and just praying that you get a really good result at the end of it.
it's kind of like a self-worth piece as well.
Exactly.
Joy, you know, you were talking about the mindset.
Yeah.
I've noticed that the more you value your skills and your abilities, and you know you're worth it, people just gravitate towards you. Like you gave the example about the YouTube channel. When
Yeah.
you know, have that credibility and people are able to see, wow, this person can help me, they're going to naturally just vibrate towards you. You know, you don't
Yeah.
really have to do much, to be honest.
Yeah, and it's all about knowing yourself. Because
Mm,
if you know, because confidence is really just believing that
of
you can
course.
do something. That's
Yeah.
all that it is.
Mm,
And if you know that you can do this, even
mm,
if you don't know how to do it, but you know that you can figure it out anyway, at the
mm,
least,
mm,
then I say, why not? Why not ask for what you want? Why not try?
yeah.
And the thing about negotiating anyway is really, it's about coming up with a solution that works for both parties. And I feel like sometimes people forget that. They think that if you're asking for something, you might come across as selfish or
Yeah.
as greedy, that you're asking for too much. But actually all negotiation is coming up with a solution that
Mm,
works for both parties, not just one.
yeah.
So, and if both parties are happy, then it's a win-win, and you're much more likely to stay at the company for a long time, or you're much more likely to actually enjoy working with a client if you run a business.
Yeah, no, definitely, definitely. It's really, really great insights there, Joy. Thank you so
Yeah,
much. Really interesting
yeah,
discussion. So,
yeah.
obviously, you've mentioned already that you're a mum, and I'm sure you work with mums as well. I know I do. And in general, I just think, you know, that there's a lot of pressure on us as women, whether we're mums or not. So, why do you kind of think so many women feel this pressure to have it all?
Yeah, it's it's interesting because I've been thinking about this myself for a while, which is
Mm,
the idea of having it all. And in fact, I've realized that I think for a lot of women, we are told that you can't have it all. I feel like that's a lot of the conversation that I'm hearing, at least on social media. So whether I'm thinking about Oprah or Shonda Rhimes, who's an amazing
legendary.
producer, she's amazing. They make it clear. They say you can't have it all. But the thing that I find interesting about that is that I guess it's two things. One is that they're saying that if you try to have it all, expect to fail because you can't do it. And it's also that it's forgetting that wanting it all implies that you're being greedy, that you're trying to take too much, when in reality, having it all is only natural. It's natural for a woman to have dreams for her career and for her own self-fulfillment. It's natural for a woman to eventually reach a point or a time in her life when she wants to conceive and carry a child and birth an amazing human being into this world. It's natural to fall in love and start a family with someone. So it's kind of like men have the exact same thing. Men have a career, they also have a family, and they also have other interests. And they aren't having a conversation about having it all, and yet women are. And I feel that women don't need to feel so much pressure about trying to have it all. Can I have it all? Do I need to make a decision between both? I think that the conversation needs to change from, instead of having to pick one or the other, your career over children or children over career, I think the conversation ought to be, how can we make it easier for both parents to raise their children? Because you notice a huge difference between the women, like the careers of women who have supportive husbands, where the husband is also a hands-on father and he also takes paternity leave, or he also makes time for the kids. When you do that, like in my case, my husband, I my career is just as important as his, but we're also equally there for our child, and it actually works. So I feel that if more women had support from their partners, and if children had support from their fathers, and if companies made it easier for families to raise children, then the conversation would no longer be about having it all. It would be more about, how can both parents raise their children in this society.
Mm, no, definitely. I think it's It's really, really interesting, Joy. You know, when you were talking about that, it made me think of my own late dad.
Yeah.
Just because I don't know if I mentioned this story to you when we spoke on the phone. My dad had his own business. He was a solicitor.
Mm.
So every Friday he would have half a day. He would spend time with me. He'd take me to his office. He'd come home, feed me lunch, spend
Oh,
time with me. And I remember my mum telling me that, and I'm not kind of dismissing any dads of that generation in the 80s, but there weren't many Asian dads doing that, if I can be honest.
yeah, yeah. And I don't think, I think it's actually kind of a
Hmm.
newish thing for dads to be that hands-on. But I'll never forget the first man that
Hmm.
I realized was capable of this. And
Hmm.
he's actually a managing director of a massive marketing agency.
Hmm.
And when he and his wife had a child, his wife was a go-getter. She was ambitious, smart, intelligent, and he loved her for so many reasons, including
Hmm.
those things. And he didn't want her to have to give up her career just
Yeah.
because she had a baby. And
Hmm.
he thought, why is it fair for me to keep on having my career when
Hmm.
we both have a baby? Like, this baby's as much mine as it is hers.
Exactly.
So he ended up taking paternity leave. And at the company that I was working at, he ended up introducing paternity leave where men could take up to 6 months off. And when he introduced that, and then he came back from his paternity leave, and he did this whole presentation about how being a hands-on father and being there for his child, how that changed him and how that helped him have more empathy for his wife, and how that helped him realize how important it is for a child to have
Hmm.
memories with their father, and create experiences with their children.
Hmm.
That was the first time that I realized, wow, you can actually have a very intelligent man at a senior executive position, and now he's managing director, and they can also still be there for their children. So if they
Exactly.
can do it,
Hmm.
why can't others? And okay, some men don't want to do it. Some men, they actually have no interest in
Yeah.
wiping up diapers, wiping up, the baby's bum and doing
Yeah.
diapers and all that sort of stuff. But there are some men that would love to be at home with their kids.
Yeah.
And I feel that if a woman is with a partner that has similar values and that is encouraging and supportive of your career, then it ought to be possible for them, as opposed to some companies making it difficult for fathers to be as hands-on. So
Hmm.
I feel that I think maybe in a couple generations, because I feel like right now we're really at the beginning where we're
Oh
seeing things
yeah, yeah.
like hashtag girl dad, after Kobe Bryant, and we're seeing much more men getting more involved. And I
Yeah.
think once that continues evolving, it won't be such a new thing. It will
Hmm.
actually hopefully be the norm. And I think it has a positive impact on children, because
Yeah.
they get to say, I got to spend time with my mom and my dad.
Yeah, no, I mean,
um
yeah, it had a positive impact on me when I heard that story because to be honest with you, he said that he missed out on my sister because he was studying. I have an older sister.
yeah.
So it's that kind of thing of, a lot of parents with the second or third child, they want to spend even more time with them if they've not been able to with the first one, dads. But it's also about that progressive mentality of, we should be helping our wives or partners. It shouldn't just
Yeah.
be, them doing everything. But it's really, really interesting hearing. And I agree with you. I think things will change even more, hopefully.
Yeah, and I think one thing that also helps as a woman is
Mm.
actually asking for help.
Oh, yeah.
Just ask for help. And I feel like it's actually quite easy to feel like you have to be seen as doing it all. You
Mm.
have to be seen as the all singing, all dancing mom who's
Oh, yeah.
amazing at cooking baby food, organic homemade baby food, and you're also really good at taking your baby to classes, and you're also really good at working and all that sort of stuff. Now, granted, I do those things, I admit, but I have help. I
Yeah.
ask my husband to take my daughter on the weekend so that I can have a nice bath. I ask my husband to take my daughter to a music class so that I can be on this podcast.
Mm.
I ask for help. So I think if we try not to feel guilty about asking for help,
Mm.
and we embrace all the help that we get, then it actually makes doing everything so much easier, because we're doing everything without having to do everything,
Yeah.
which is amazing. Like
Wow.
it's like having your cake and eating it, like literally, like you can make the cake, you can eat it, and you can have a good time, and you don't have to worry about tidying up. That's kind of how I see it.
Definitely, definitely. So
Yeah.
one of the questions that I think I really want to hear your perspective on, Joy, because I think it's important for us to understand that sometimes, you know, whether we've got a business or we're in a career, it can be easy for us to give up sometimes. So
Yeah.
I'm really kind of interested, you know, what do you feel it really takes to start a business, be an influencer, do something you have a true passion for? And why do you think so many people give up so easily?
Yeah, I think to really start a business and to not give up, I think first and foremost, you have to have a good foundation.
Mm.
And this foundation, it's kind of like having a soft cushion so that when you fall, it doesn't hurt so much.
Yeah.
And this foundation is really having a strong reason for why you're doing this business.
Mm.
And it can't just be about money. Sometimes people go into business for money,
Yeah.
but you have to have a genuine mission for your customers or your clients, and actually believe that there is something you want to help them with or something that you want to do. And you also have to have a mission for yourself, such as the reason why this money would be meaningful or helpful to me is because it will fund my child's private education, for example, or her university education, or it will help provide a roof over my head more than a current job, or whatever it is. But you have to have a genuine, sincere reason for why you're doing this.
Yeah.
And I think a second thing is that it also really helps to kind of be working in your genius zone.
Mm-hmm.
And Gay Hendricks, he's got an amazing book on
I love
this.
that book.
It's so good. And it actually took me until last month. Like, honestly, it took me until last month to realize I'd been working in my excellence zone instead of my genius zone. Now, for people that are listening and are like, what's an excellence zone and what's a genius zone? It's kind of like an excellence zone is when you're doing something that you're good at and maybe you get paid for, and perhaps you're even being paid really well at, but it's not really your genius zone. A genius zone is when you are in flow, when you kind of lose track of time. And this is something that you are uniquely good at. So, for example, I can just do the career stuff in terms of figuring out what you want to do with your career, but I'm also good at kind of the mindset, the high performance. So when you combine those two things, that's my genius zone. And I realized that for a long time, I'd been working in the wrong zone. And when you're working in the wrong zone, eventually you end up getting bored. You end up lacking that fulfillment, which is why some people, they end up having really successful careers in something that they wish they weren't successful in. And it's kind of like, how did I get here? It's like, because you're in your excellent zone. You were excellent in something, so good at it that you became successful, but it wasn't the thing that lights you up. It wasn't your genius zone. And I think in business, you end up quitting if you realize, even if you make all this money, you end up quitting if you realize that it's not what you want to do. And even if you don't make a lot of money, if you're struggling, you end up quitting because you realize, why am I doing this when I don't even enjoy it anyway? And I think the last thing, just dare I say, you just need that grit, that resilience to kind of just not be afraid of failure, and I feel like some people give up because they are afraid of failing. Because if you really look at it, it's like, why did you give up? Oh, because I was failing. It's like, no, but why did you really give up? And it's because they were afraid of failing. So they gave up before they could fail. When really, if you're giving up is actually what makes it a failure.
Of course.
Like not the mistakes in the journey that you're on. The journey that you're on is going to be whatever it is. Like, you're going to have to go through whatever it is you need to go through in order to get the lessons you need to get to where you want to be. So once you really start to embrace that, then you realize, man, I'm really sucking at this. There is a lesson in here somewhere. I'm going to get the lesson. And then once you get that lesson, you're like, wow, light bulb moment. And then you fail at something else and you're like, oh man, there's another lesson I need to learn. And then eventually it gets easier. Yes. And so long as you just continue working on your mindset, and like once you develop that resilient, unbreakable mindset, then you end up giving yourself the time to figure it out. And once you've given yourself the time to figure it out, you're done. Like you've done it. You know, and people don't give themselves sufficient time, and they don't work on their mindset long enough.
No, totally. And, you know, there's that thing about business is 80% mindset. 20%,
yeah, that is so true. That is so true. Yeah, and it's such a shame, because I feel that mindset can be one of those things that can sometimes feel a bit woo, like woo-woo. And mindset, it's not discussed in school. I so wish it were, because I feel that if I had learned from a much younger age about mindset, then I wouldn't have been so afraid for such a long part of my life.
Totally. I can definitely resonate with that.
Yeah.
So, oh, Joy, it has been a joy.
It's been amazing. I'm so happy that I got a chance to chat with you. Thank you so much for inviting me. I love your podcast. I love your other interviews. So I'm so glad that I get to be one of the interviewees. I'm just so glad. And just thank you so much for writing to me, and you're inspiring. And
thank you.
Yeah,
that means a lot, hearing that from yourself, because the feeling is definitely mutual. But can I just verify, because I will put everything in the show notes when this podcast goes out.
Yeah.
What is the name of your YouTube channel, just before?
So the name is The Joy Randolph. So if you were to type in like YouTube /C/The Joy Randolph, you'd find me. But you can also just go to YouTube and then just type in Joy Randolph, and I'll come up. There is another woman called Davine Joy Randolph, and my sister laughs because she's like, you look like a totally different person, and I'm like, yeah, that's not me.
That's not me. No. I'll put all the information in the show notes.
Yeah.
So people who are listening, they can go and check out your wonderful YouTube channel. But thank you so much again. And
thank you so much.
I look forward to speaking with you again soon. Take care.
Yes, you take care. All right, bye.
Thanks so much for listening to the podcast. It means so much that you listen to this podcast, and if you think this has made a difference to your day, please share it with someone else that you know. If you haven't already, please leave us a review and a rating on Apple Podcasts. Thanks so much. If you want to find out more about the Career Happiness Mentor, please subscribe to our newsletter or email me. All the details are in the show notes.